3A.2 master learning objective. I can identify the center and radius of a circle by completing the square to convert the equation of a circle from standard form to center radius form. Okay. So a perfect square trinomial is something that comes from squaring a binomial. So for example, if I have let's say x plus x plus 3 squared, right? Squaring something is the same as saying that I'm multiplying it by itself, right? And then you're foiling or distributing twice, or however you have learned it. X times x is x squared plus 3x plus 9. So I just foiled, and we get x squared plus 6x plus 9. Okay, so this is a very specific example. The other way we can kind of show this is it's x squared plus 2 times 3x, right? I get 2 of these plus 3 squared. And this is really what a perfect square trinomial is. My first thing is squared, my last part is squared, and in the middle I have 2 times whatever it is. Okay, so this is really going to help us find these equations of these circles, and with that we're going to be using completing the square. You have seen completing the square before when you were solving quadratic equations, but completing the square is finding the constant. So therefore, this is our constant, or this 3 squared. That will make a trinomial a perfect square. Okay. Now, every trinomial is a perfect square only if it's of this form. Okay. So we have to find that constant. So we're going to look at an example. I'm going to go through the steps carefully so that we can do it. The first step that I always like to do is move the constant. What I mean by that is this constant is here, just like our formula for an circle. It's x minus something squared, y minus something squared equals your r squared. So your constant's supposed to be on the right side anyway. Okay? So I want to get rid of it from here, so I'm going to do the opposite to move it. So now I have x squared okay. The next thing I want to do is I want to group my x's and y's. So, done. Your step 3 is really the meat of everything. Complete the square. To complete the square, what you're doing is you are divide x or y term, so not your x squared or your y squared, just your x or just your y, by 2. I should say coefficient. Right after y coefficient by 2, then square it. Okay. So for example, here, my term for x is -2. I'm going to divide that by 2. I'm going to do the whole thing down here. -2 divided by 2 coming from here equals -1. And I'm squaring it, which equals +1. The next thing we have to do is step 4. Add the answers to left and right side. Okay, so I got this one. I need to add it in with my x, right? So I had this in a group. My y didn't have just a y term. It's just y squared. There is no y term, so I didn't do anything with that. Right, so I added a 1 here, and so then I have to add a 1 to the other side, just by equality, right? Step 5. Why didn't it change colors? Write as minus, I'm just going to say h squared, and then y plus or minus k squared. Okay, so here, this becomes x. Whatever you got when you divided, that's your number that goes there. It's x minus 1 squared. We're going to do a lot more examples. There's nothing with y, so it's just y squared. You don't really need the parentheses. I don't care if you have them. Equals, and then 80 plus 1 is 81. Easy. Okay. Now we have it in a form like we looked at yesterday, and now we can write it as find our center and our radius. So our center, right, I have -1, which becomes +1. Zero. And then our radius, the square root of 81, which is 9. So center 1, 0, radius 9. So that is one problem. Again, I know they are lengthy, but let's go ahead and look at example 2. Use completing the square to find the center and radius of x squared plus y squared minus 6y plus 5. Again, our first step, subtract 5. So I have x squared minus 6y equals -5. Then we need to group my x's and my y's. So I group my x's together and I group my y's together. This problem is similar to the other one, as I don't have anything with my x, so I don't have to worry about that one. It's just an x squared. I do have to worry about my y's, right? Coming from here. So I'm going to take -6, divide it by 2, and square it. -6 divided by 2 is -3. -3 squared is 9. Again, I show this middle step because we eventually use that number. So a lot of us like to do things in our head, which is fine. However, I use that number so I don't want to forget about it, or at least make sure you know what this number is going to be. Okay. So I have x squared plus, all right, I'm just adding this in. I'm adding 9 to both sides. Then my next step is to write them with as something squared, so it's y minus 3 squared. And then I'm also just going to add these, right? Negative 5 plus 9 is 4. Then, again, this looks just like something we looked at now yesterday. So, my center is at 0, 3. And my radius is the square root of 4, which equals 2. So without writing all the steps, these problems do go faster. Okay, and as you get better and better at them, you'll be able to go, they will become a little quicker. All right, let's look at another problem. Again, our first step here is to move that minus 8 to the other side. So I'm going to add 8. So I have x squared minus 8x plus y squared plus 2y equals 8. Okay. Group your x's and your y's. I have my x's here, my y's here. Now, this one is different from the other two we've done. I have something for both of them. So I do I'll do my x's first, right? I have a negative 8 here. So I'm doing negative 8 divided by 2 squared, which equals negative 4 squared, which equals 16. Okay. And then I have to also use this 2. So I have positive 2 divided by 2 squared. 2 divided by 2 is 1 squared, which equals 1. Then in my next step, that's not the color I chose. So I have x squared minus 8x. I have to add 16 to that one. That was my y squared plus 2y. I have to add 1 to this one. On my other side, I have to add 16. I also have to add 1. So when you have two numbers, right, you have to add them both times. Last step here, x squared minus 8x plus 16 becomes x minus 4 squared plus y, this is positive 1 squared. And then I'm going to add all these together. 8 plus 16 plus 1 gives me 25. Then finding your center and your radius. Alright, change your sign. Positive 4, negative 1. Radius is the square root of 25. Which equals 5. All right. We are going to do one more problem today. Example 4, again, start by moving your terms. So I'm going to it's the wrong color. Subtract 120 from both sides. So I have x squared plus 2x equals negative 120. Okay. Group your x's and your y's. X's, y's. And then we take this positive 2. We have 2 divided by 2 squared equals 1 squared, which equals 1. Same thing here. Negative 24 divided by 2 squared equals negative 24 divided by 2 is negative 12 squared. And 12 times 12 is 144. So those are the two numbers I want to add into my x's and y's to get a perfect square trinomial. So then I have x squared plus 2x plus 1, a perfect square trinomial, plus y squared minus 24y plus 144. That's a perfect square trinomial. And since I added a 1 to this side, I have to add a 1 to this side, and we have to add 144 to that side. Otherwise, our equation would not stay equal. Anything we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Now, this is a perfect square trinomial, so we can rewrite it as x plus 1 squared, right? Because x plus 1 squared equals x squared plus 2x plus 1, plus, right, and the 1 comes from here, y, this is minus 12 squared, which equals 25. Right, I believe, right, just from here. Oops. So then my center, coming from here, is at negative 112. My radius is at my radius equals 5. Alright, that is all we are going to do. We are going to finish up this tomorrow. We have 3 more problems, and we will look at those ones tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of your day.